to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans, and thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined by a very special guest, Dudley Durong, as I can say that correctly. Doug, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. Always love coming on chatting with you.
Absolutely, and this is going to be a different type of show. On today's show, we're not going to talk about the latest, news and rumors with the Dolphins, Raheem Mostert being caught and all that stuff. We're going to talk about a totally side topic. And it's something I've wanted to talk about for a while on the show. It's the off season. We got a ways until free agency and the draft. So it's a good time to hold it, to have this conversation. And we're going to talk about social media and sports in the year 2025. And because, these sports leagues get these huge contracts, social media is a growing thing. And they're kind of going side by side with how sports are now covered, how fans interact with each other, how fans interact with the teams, with the players, and everything around social media and sports. So we're going to talk about that on today's show. First, two things. Number one, shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Everyone go to Caneswear.com for the latest and greatest Miami Dolphins apparel, Florida Panthers apparel, Miami Heat apparel, or all of the college teams in South Florida or in Florida in general, like the Hurricanes, the Seminoles, the Florida Gators. Go to Caneswear.com, and yes, they ship internationally as well. Also, if you enjoy us here at DolphinsTalk.com, check out Dolphins Talk Extra, Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. It's only $3 a month. You get bonus podcasts about the Dolphins, and then you get bonus podcasts about music, pro wrestling, sports like the NBA, hockey, music. We have a television show. So check out Dolphins Talk Extra as well. Okay, Doug, let's start this conversation. And again, we have no agenda. We have no narrative. We are not looking to change the world. We're just sharing thoughts and experiences about social media and sort of what we see each and every day with it as people who create content. And, something, as I said, I find this interesting. So I guess my first question to you is, since you joined social media, however many years ago, and I'm talking, everything, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, has your experience on it gotten better or gotten worse? And by better or worse, I mean more enjoyable or less enjoyable? Because I have my answer, but I want to hear yours first.
That's a very good question. I've been on social media for a hot minute, but since I started covering the Dolphins, which was 7 years ago, it's like a mixed bag because everyone comes out now. Like when I first started, no one knew who I was. I barely had any Twitter followers, anything like that. So I would just voice my opinion kind of to an echo chamber. It was no one really.
It's like you're just yelling out a window. Maybe
yeah, exactly.
Maybe somebody doesn't. But now that you have a little bit of a following, somewhat of a name, it's different. And I totally get that because I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, like a lot of people want to try to prove me wrong. That's like the biggest thing. Every chance they get, they can prove me wrong. But then also there's a huge portion that like enjoys what I say and enjoys me and has positive things. I'd say the positive to negative is like 70-30. It is a well-rounded positive, like what I have to say, ask for my opinion, ask if I know anything, which is different because when I started, I was trying to find out things, and now people are coming to me to find out things, which is crazy. But yeah, there's a good quarter portion that just every chance they can get. It doesn't matter what I say. I could say the sky is blue. Technically, it's more of a turquoise than it is a blue. And shut up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd probably go less than 70. Well, I've been on Twitter, X, whatever. I'm just going to call it Twitter on the show just for consistency for over 10 years now, I think. YouTube, a little bit less because I got late in the game there. Facebook, when it comes to the Dolphins, kind of late. I think each platform is unique in its own way. I see on Facebook, and it's not a paintbrush of everyone. People seemed kind of, I don't want to say more chill, but kind of more chill in some ways. Twitter seems like it's a fight. Like when I open up that app on Twitter, I'm prepared for a fight every time I look at it because, you just can't say, have just a, milk toast type of opinion without somebody ready to come at you and tear you down. So, and then YouTube where, like with the comments and stuff, that for the most part, that's pretty good. Now you have a large YouTube following than we do. So you might see something else, but for the most part, the people on YouTube, I think are pretty fair for the most part. So each platform has its own audience, but I will say, since I first started, like signing on to social media, I thought, this is pretty cool. It's fun. I can talk to other like-minded people who have the same type of interest as me. And it wasn't like bad. But over the years, I do see it getting progressively worse and worse in that I'm enjoying it less. Like right now, when it comes to like Twitter, I really, for the most part, only share content around our site, podcast, articles. If news breaks, I'll give a quick opinion. I really don't get into the back and forth with people. I try to, every now and then, yes. But for the most part, I try to avoid it because I know it just never ends well.
Yeah.
It never ends. And plus, it's like some people just never let it go. It's like the art of agreeing to just disagree is gone. Everyone thinks, no, I'm going to yell at you and I'm going to shout you down until you finally cave and see it my way. It's like, that's just never going to happen. So I try to avoid those as much as possible. And with certain people, which we all know, just like, you know what, I don't have the energy to do this. It's just not going to happen. But for the most part, I try to avoid that. Is that something you kind of see at times?
I got to get better at that. I tried to make a New Year's resolution.
It takes time. And
that would do that.
I'm not saying I am perfect at it, but I have tried this for years, and I think I've gotten to a healthy spot. I really feel like now look, I'm 47 too, and it's taken me years, so that might say something about me, but I think I've gotten to a healthy spot to where I can just walk away and be like, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, because like I push back on some things, especially if I say something and someone, tries to do whatever on my post. But like I think I got really good at, as I'm scrolling, if I see a comment that is just blatantly false, I've gotten very good at just keep going. I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to keep going because they're not talking to me. But when they're talking to me, I've gotten better at ignoring it. But there's a lot of times where if I know it's factually false, like it is, I can prove here is you being wrong. I'm like, it's very hard for me not to just do it and be like, you're wrong. And then of course they're not going to say, oh, my bad. They're
no,
be
they
like,
never
well,
say that.
No, technically.
It's someone else's fault. Yeah. Well, that's what someone told me. Well, that someone's an idiot and you listen to him, which I often say a lot. Like football is the most popular sport in America, but the fan base, I think compared to the other major sports is maybe, and some people are probably going to take this the wrong way, but I don't care, the least educated. Not that they're dumb. They just don't understand the sport as, they're on a scale of 1 to 10, they're at a 9 or a 10 as a fan, but their level of education about the sport is probably like a 3. And they just say stuff that's like, makes no sense. And it's like, I don't have the time to teach you and I'm not going to. And if you want to believe that, have at it. Not my problem, but I do see that more and more on social media with people, and leads me to my next topic, which I think kind of follows up on this. I think the most, and I've seen this evolve over the years, dangerous aspect of social media is groupthink.
Oh,
groupthink is really dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And, I see it a lot on Miami Dolphins Twitter compared to other places where if 1 or 2 people have a thought and they shout it and they get another 6 or 7 to agree, next thing you know, those 6 or 7 with those 1 or 2 get another 10. And that's like the popular line of thinking. No matter if someone can disprove it, no matter if someone can say there's another side to this we need to look at, you will get shouted down by the larger group. You will be outcasted by the larger group. You will get, your day's going to be hell on social media if you don't fall in line with the group think. And I always say this as a joke, but how I sort of correlate that is if you walk into a supermarket and you see a guy standing over by the produce section talking to an imaginary man on his shoulder, you're going to say, he's nuts. I'm going to start in the deli, and you're going to walk the opposite direction because I don't want to be away from it. On social media, though, someone can, be that nutty person, say something crazy, and get people to follow them. Next thing you know, normal people are following the lunatic. And that's why I think groupthink is so dangerous, because it really does, it's, be an independent thinker. Don't just fall in line with the group, because sometimes the group's wrong.
Yeah. And if you have any opposite opinion, like the biggest one obviously right now is Tua, right? You either love him or hate him. There is no in between with Tua. It's like politics.
And I'm in between, because you hear me every week on the show. I will say,
because you have a rational brain in your head.
Like, you just can't say nice player, good player. We're probably paying him too much now, but is what it is. He's here for a few more years. He's okay. Not that he's bad. He just can't stay healthy. Like that's just I don't have to say, he's a top 5 quarterback. Tua's great. Herbert sucks. Like, that one always blows my mind. To praise Tua, you got to bash Herbert. I don't get the correlation there. You don't have to say, or on the flip side, you don't have to say he's the worst quarterback who's ever been born. It's like, just say he's good. And there's nothing wrong with being good. I just wish he could stay healthy a little bit, because I'd be fine with him then. But people, it's like the Crips and the Bloods. You got to pick a side.
Yes. And you can't have a rational thought about it. You can't say, like you said, I like X, Y, and Z about him, but he also needs to work on X, Y, and Z. It's, you're a fence hopper. Why don't you just pick a side? Because there is no side. He can have good and he can have bad. It's just the way it is. It's like politics. You either have to be a Republican or you have to be a Democrat. There's no independent. And I'm an independent. But if I say anything pro whatever or pro this, it's like, there he goes, libtard over there. Or there he goes. It's just, and they have names. They have names. You either got you lib or this, or you got Tuanon, or you got
hater.
It's just ridiculous. And you can't have like a logical conversation with these people, because there is no logical conversation. It's either good or bad. I've been called a Tua hater, and I've been called a Tuanon. They need to pick a side.
Yeah, well, because once again, like me, you're having rational conversations where I always say football's not that tough, folks. I watch a game. If the Dolphins win 31-3, I'm going to say a lot of nice things about them after that game. If the Dolphins lose 42-10, probably not going to be so positive, because I watched the game. They just lost.
Too negative, Mike.
What do you want me to say? Yeah, you're too negative. No, they just lost 42-10. What do you want me to say? When it's if I walk outside and it's raining, I'm going to take out an umbrella and say it's raining. If I walk outside and see sunshine, I'm going to say it's sunshine and put the umbrella away. It's the same thing with football. Team wins, you say more nice things about them. Team loses, you're going to be more critical and say more negative-based things about them. It's common sense to me, but people want you to just never, make an opinion once and never change it. Like, that's it. Like, same thing politics. You are on one side for, you'll never see. They might think it, but they'll never say publicly, and it goes both ways. I'm just using this as an example, but I'll use each one, not to get anyone mad, to have a Republican say, I'm a Republican, but that's a good idea by the Democrats. Or on the other side, the Democrats say, I'm a Democrat, but that one idea from the Republicans, that might work. You'll never see that. No. And it's the same thing on social media, like in our little world here, talking about the Dolphins, where, if you try that shade of gray or that nuanced conversation, it gets totally lost. Like, especially if it's not a podcast like this, where we're not saying it and it's just words typed, there's no nuance. It's like, you hate them. Why do you hate them so much?
No, it's not hating. It's being constructive. It's being critical in the moment. It's, and it's funny too, because both sides will harp on and stick on something. So like with Tua, I was not happy with the Texans game, but people who love Tua will get on me and say, you hate Tua. you blame Tua for the Texans' loss. And I'm like, well, it kind of was his fault.
Kinda
3
was,
interceptions,
yeah.
he's
Not
going to
good.
hurt. On the flip side, you got Tua haters who are like, Tua's garbage. Tua sucks. Look at the Texans game. And you're like, it's one game.
Yeah.
So it's like
They manipulate stats. They manipulate numbers, which, look, I know sports is a lot about numbers. It's a lot about stats, but there is that manipulation of it that, isn't fair.
Yeah.
Now, look, if you want to take Tua's record versus teams with a winning record, well, we have a large enough sample size to say this might be a problem here.
Yeah.
But if you're going to cherry pick one game in particular about one aspect of his game, if he underthrows one, 60-yard pass to say he can't throw it deep. Well, no, I have a 4-year sample size and about 50 other examples to say, Ken, that's just one player cherry picking to try and correlate that to push a narrative. So that whole aspect of it is toxic. And that's where social media, I think, has taken a big turn the past 3 to 5 years. And people are out there clearly pushing agendas now, and they're clearly trying to twist facts, twist stats to prove their point, where it's like, you're being a bad faith actor here. Whoa, I can read through this. You're not saying this in good faith. You're clearly spinning things to an unhealthy place.
And that's where I get caught in it. And that's where I
learn to walk away.
Exactly. Because he can't do this. He doesn't do this. He won't do this. And then I'm like, here's him doing it. Well, you can find a quarterback doing it at least once. Well, you just said he can't do it. And I'm just showing you he can do it. Well, show me another one. Okay, here's another one. Yeah, well, show me another one. Okay, here's another one. Yeah, but you're giving me 3 sample sizes out of 5 years. Okay, here's another. And then they move the goalposts. Instead of just being more critical in a certain aspect, like me and you are, where we say he can do these things, we just need to see it more consistently. It's like, why is that so hard to do? Why is that so? It's like with anything, nothing's definite in this world. There's no fine line of black and white. There's always the gray, and in social media there is no gray. You have to, we were talking about, you got to be one side or the other. It's this or that, or get out of my way.
Yeah, I also think too, which leads to the art of, even if, say there's a topic, you feel one way, I feel one way, after the second interaction, I'm at the point in my life, I'm just going to agree, disagree. We don't have to agree. And maybe it's because of my age, as I get a little older, a little wiser, more sage-like, or maybe, or I don't know, but I think there's some people just don't have the ability to just agree to disagree and move on. They have to get the last word. They have to just never let a topic die. And it's to me, that's like an illness almost. I view this as someone having a sickness. It's like, we don't have to agree. It's not that big a deal. I was at some point, dude, you realize we spent 10 minutes on this talking about football? Really? You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. Who cares in the big picture of life?
Mm-hmm.
It's but no, some fans will consume their day and ruin their day. And it will ruin their, we know someone who I won't name, lets it ruin their real life. Social media stuff. It's why? It's you got to learn to just let it water off the duck's ass. Let it go.
I have people on Sundays that if the Dolphins lose, I'm their punching bag. And if I say anything that they disagree with, it's this parade of, what you're talking about. I've gotten unfollowed. I've gotten blocked. And I'm in my head, I'm it's football. You don't even cover it as much as I do. You're not even invested in it as much as I am. Breaking down film, watching the game. I watch the game at least 5 times in a week. You're not, and I don't get this angry. You got to take a step back and look at the big picture. Yeah, it sucks. We're all fans. But at the end of the day, it ain't going to change your life. It's going to make you happy when they win. But when they lose, it's just football. Here's the biggest thing. I get paid by them doing better. Right?
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
The better they do, the more money me and you make.
Exactly.
So you would think we would be madder when they lose. But me and you are what are you going to do, man?
They have no control over it.
Exactly.
I can just tell you my thoughts. I can tell you what I think. I can tell you my opinions, but my opinions has no control. Like if my thoughts, like Chris Grier would have been fired like 8 years ago. He never would have been the GM hire in the first place. He would have been gone if I had any say in this. So it's like, I wish the team does well. You and me make more money.
Mm-hmm.
But fans don't see it that way, and they think, oh, you want them to lose. No, I don't.
No, I don't.
As I always say, if you're watching on YouTube, look at the room around me. You think I want them to lose? What do you think? This is all props I didn't pay for? I mean, this is my personal collection I've had since long before I even had a podcast. I just decided, podcast makes a nice little background, so might as well use it that way. It's like the team winning matters almost more to us in some ways. Yeah. But I understand fans need to lash out at someone, and I also find it funny at times. The fans will always side with the players, no matter how bad they might be. For the most part, not always. Yeah. There's always exceptions. But if it's siding with you or a player, you're never going to win. If it's siding with Tyreek Hill can do 50 more obnoxious things off the field. If I put up something critical, Tyreek, there's still going to be a segment of the fan base saying, "Who the hell are you? Leave Tyreek alone. Why are you picking leave him alone? You want to?" I can read his rap sheet, but I'll be here till Tuesday if you want. What have I done?
And that's the other thing that I find incredibly hilarious is there's that split in the fan base as well, where there's fans that are for the player, and then there's fans that are that player. The biggest thing that I've come around and noticed is contracts. A lot of times, you sign the contract, play the contract you sign. But they are zip quiet when all of a sudden a team cuts that player and we save a ton of cap space because they weren't playing great. But then all of a sudden, he doesn't get the money that he signed in the contract because he just got cut. You're fine with that. But if he needs to, if he outperforms his contract, you sign the contract, play with that contract. If he overperform or underperforms the contract and he gets cut, good. It's that's not how that works, man. You can't do that.
Because fans, for the most part, fans view players, they view coaches as trading cards.
Yep.
They're not real. They're just trading cards that are on the team I root for, and when I'm tired of them, I want to trade them away, just throw them away. But they're my trading cards, so I can just treat them now almost like they're subhuman. The news that broke, we are recording this on Saturday night late. The news that broke a few hours ago, our new wide receivers coach, who's been here less than a month, might be leaving for the Saints to be the OC, which is fine. Look, he knows the head coach. He worked with him for 1 year. It's an upgrade for him.
Huge
Who
position.
wouldn't take that job? Yeah, who wouldn't take that job? I have fans already responding to my article on various platforms saying he signed a contract, make him stay. Why are we letting him leave? We're a soft organization. Look, they might be a soft organization in Dolphins for other reasons, but not because of this. It's an upgrade. Let the man have a chance to be an OC if he even leaves. He might not even have the job. If he gets it, folks, you can't force the guy to stay. It's he signed a contract, make him stay. It's and also certain players are put on a pedestal where you can't criticize Tua, you can't criticize Waddle, you can't criticize Jaylen Phillips. Jesse Davis, I hope you get in a car crash and die and never want to see you again. It's whoa, he's a human too. He plays in the league. It's certain players, it's okay. Liam Eichenberg, you can say every nasty, horrible thing about Liam, and that's okay. It's excused. But, if you say something about someone who, you said, what about H.N.? No, you can't take it back. You're mean. Send him an apology. What? Certain players, it's okay to, shit on. And certain players, if you do, you're going to get the groupthink of people coming after you, the angry mob, which I find hilarious.
Yeah, it's that double standard, and it's just hilarious. And, because there was, I don't remember when it was, maybe a month ago or something, it was that discussion of Jaylen Waddle. Should we have drafted him or Penei Sewell? Penei Sewell was sitting there. Should we have taken him? And then people are like, "Oh, Waddle's still I'm not upset. Obviously, if we can go back in time, we would have taken Penei over Waddle.
And plus, we didn't know at that time Hill would be coming on board either. If we did, maybe they do take Sewell because we got Hill. But since we didn't have Hill at that moment, I can't kill him for that.
It's like the Cedric Wilson signing.
Yeah.
We didn't know we were going to get Tyreek Hill, so
Yeah.
we signed Cedric Wilson. All of a sudden, it looked like a dumb move. But, everything's hindsight. But again, what people don't realize is there's no way on God's green earth that say Jaylen Waddle went to the Bengals and say Jamar Chase went to the next team and then say, all these guys are gone and Penei Sewell's sitting there. He's looking at you. Chris Grier would take like a linebacker and then there would go Penei Sewell. Like, he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. Stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Two things off this. One, the whole thing with Watson a few years ago when Miami might trade for him, they might not trade for him. And, some people wanted them to trade, not fans. I mean, some people in the front office wanted them to trade for him. And that whole thing, it's like, fans of the Dolphins were clutching. Like, if you didn't want to trade for Watson because you didn't want him as your quarterback, if you didn't think he was better than Tua, that's fair. That's a football opinion. That's a fair opinion. But what some Dolphins fans, and a large amount actually, what they did was bullshit. They said, I have daughters. I cannot root for a team that employs Deshaun Watson, which my response was, do you want me to read what Xavier Howard, what he did to his wife girlfriend? You want to read Tyreek Hill punching his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach? Like, Watson you can't root for because you have daughters, but it's okay to root for all these other guys on the Dolphins. Like, that was a little tough to stomach. Like, if you don't want Watson, that's fine from a football, but don't say because you have daughters and I can't root for a team that employs them, because folks, a lot of players in this league have a lot of baggage and they've done a lot of bad things. And to say one's worse than the other, dude, it's a lot of bad. It's a lot of bad. So that's one thing. The other thing I remember, and this story just popped in my head, when we fired Flores, I remember, and at that time, I didn't know everything happened. Who did that? Every little story about what was happening behind the scenes. None of us really knew. This was like that day, the next day. I wrote an article saying, I hope we're doing the right thing here, because we did have 2 good seasons, and I know everything's not great on offense. I know, but are we doing, just asking a question out loud? I hope we're doing the right thing. Fast forward, 6, 8 months, whatever. 9 months or more. Mike McDaniel's got Miami, whatever, they were 6-2. Fans go back and find that article. And I remember my father was having cancer. He had cancer. He was in the hospital like one day before surgery. And my phone is in my pocket. And this thing is going off alerts at a rapid rate. And one of the accounts on Twitter, I'm not even going to say which one, went back and found the article, tagged me, and pretty much rallied the group to have all these people call me like an asshole. You're not a real fan. You're a fucking idiot. This, that, and the other. And next thing I know, I'm getting messages. I'm getting threats. Like, it was ugly. And I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. And like, that experience really did. It changed me. It changed me to a point, but I'm like, number one, I haven't been proven wrong yet. And lo and behold, we did have a collapse at the end of that year. We had a collapse the next year. And where's Mike McDaniel today? Most fans would probably cut off a pinky finger to get Brian Flores back. Let's be honest. There's that aspect of it. And it's like, these people are nuts. There's a segment of this fan base on Twitter that's nuts, which leads to Mina Kimes. Now, this is just one example. And it's one example about the Dolphins. And she was on the Dan Le Batard show. I think this is from 2 years ago. It might have been Mike McDaniel's first year or maybe a second. I don't know the exact time frame. And I'm going to play the 2 clips because she talks about fans, being a sports personality on TV and some of the feedback she gets. And she talks specifically about the Miami Dolphins. Now, I do have to prepare people who are watching this on YouTube. This episode, Dan Le Batard is dressed up as Kane the wrestler, so you have to sort of get past that. But first off, if you're listening in audio form, you're not going to know this. But if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to be like, what the hell is this? That's all that is. And he even mentions how fans come after him. So I have 2 clips. Here's the first clip.
We talk a lot about Tuanon in Miami because there is a fervent zealousness around zealotry around Tua that is a little bit odd. But the reason I was disappointed by game one is because primarily, right? And these people get very mad at me when I sound negative after a win over Belichick with a first-time head coach. But I'm so desperate to see him like he is the answer for 10 years, not game one against the Patriots 20-7. I want to see the stuff that makes me know that they've got a quarterback for a decade. I think it's what all Dolphin fans want, not 20-7 against the Patriots.
First, I'll say I think Tuanon, or just Dolphins fans in general, is like one of the most successful bullying campaigns in the history of sports fandom. Because I have noticed that around here in NFL media generally, people are tiptoeing around Tua now because they don't want that noise. I agree with you.
Okay, so that was the heart of the clip. That she and some others who cover the NFL were like, they feel like they can't even give a true, real, honest opinion about the Dolphins at that time because who wants the headache of having these crazy fans come at them in some unhinged way? And later on in that same interview, a topic comes up where you hear her in real time be like, well, I want to say this, but you know what? Screw it. I'll just say it. Because she actually, you hear her thought process in real time, which this is like crazy to me.
I don't know. Then I guess I have to be honest, despite my fear of the incoming wrath and bullying. You didn't really see much that makes you feel different, honestly, compared to last year.
Well,
but it could change.
Okay, I'm sounding like a homer here.
He has a very good heart.
I'm sounding like a homer here. Tua didn't throw deep last year because of the offense they ran.
Greg,
he didn't throw deep much.
He convinced no one on Sunday of anything except Dolphin homers. No one.
Okay, so once again, you hear at the start of the clip pretty much like, well, I guess I'll say it even though I'm going to get, like, I'm sorry, that's not healthy. Like, no one should have to feel that way when they do their job. Again, talking about football. And I know there's going to be a segment of the fans who will hear those clips I just played who are going to be like, yeah, screw her. We're going to shout down the media, screw the media. Everything with the media sucks. But then there's, I don't know, people like me, and I'm sure many others who'll be like, that makes our fan base look like fucking idiots.
It makes us look horrible. Like, you look at other fan bases, right? I'm not here to pick on any of them, but you look at the Buffalo Bills, right? They put each other through tables, right? They do some of the dumbest things I've ever seen, but they don't really attack like the Dolphin fans do. And it's a bad look. As much as you want to puff your chest out, as much as you want to be like, yeah, we did it. Look, we're getting recognition for being, you can't talk about our players. That's not good, especially if it's warranted. Like, you're making the Dolphin fans look like psychopaths. And I had an interaction with someone on Twitter that was like, that whole interaction with the Packers fans, fiance and the Eagles fan. He was like, good, the Dolphin fans should do that. You shouldn't feel like you should come into our stadium and talk crap. Like, if you're going to talk crap, I'm going to go right back at you and I'm going to say whatever. I'm like, that's horrible. That's horrible. Absolutely
pretty bad.
Horrible. Yeah. Like, you should just be able to sit and watch your football team. What if I live in Jersey, and back in the day before I had a following and had the ability to go down to Miami, the only time I could see Miami is if they played the Jets.
Yep.
And it was horrible for me. When I was 7, I got beer thrown at me by Jet fans. Like, you don't want to be that fandom, but we are in some aspects because we will attack. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like first off, which I always tell people who get like really worked up over something, like, you're really this worked up over a football opinion? Like, we're not talking about like war. We're not talking about the economy. We're not talking about abortion. We're not talking about school shootings. We're talking about, if Mike McDaniel can call the right play on 3rd and 3. Like, you're getting that worked up over this. It's like, it's okay to have an opinion. It's even okay to defend your opinion. But take it down from like a 10 to a 2. It's really not that important. But there's a segment of fans who just, I think part of it is this. 2 things. I think some people are just so miserable in their everyday life. They use Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Reddit as an outlet to just take out that frustration on strangers, and they can get away with it because they don't have to share their name or their identity, which leads me to my next thing. I think this can all be cleaned up. And by cleaned up, I think meaning the atmosphere can improve on social media platforms by doing one thing. When people sign up, make them use their real name, make them verify it's their real name, and put a face to it and a name to it. I think, and I do think this will happen someday. I don't know if it's going to be someday soon, especially with certain people in power now. I do think there's going to be a day where the social media, something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen on social media. Something like some stuff has already happened bad, but I think it's going to get worse, where the social media channels, and I mean all of them, I'm not just picking on one in particular, they're going to have to like verify folks. Like you can't be, sassy ass 62438. You're going to have to be, Sally Smith of wherever, Rochester, New York. And then I think people will tone it down a notch, because then they know it's like you can't go into a movie theater and yell fire because you're going to be in the paper, you're going to be arrested. You shouldn't be able to go online. Not that yelling fire online is the same, but you can't do the equivalent of something like that online. And I think that would clean up a lot of things.
Yeah, 100%. And what people who are listening to this need to realize is a lot of what me and Mike are talking about is like, it's a minority of the fan base, but it's a loud minority.
It's the loud minority. It's the quiet majority. Yeah.
It's like 30% of the fan base, but they're loud and they're abrasive and they're aggressive, because I have been threatened.
Oh, I've been threatened too.
For my, like, oh, if I see you at a tailgate, it's on.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And no, every time somebody has seen me at a tailgate, it's nothing but nice things. The first thing I get is, wow, you actually are 6'5". That's like the biggest thing I get is, you are a big man. There's no need for that type of stuff. There's no need to threaten me.
Yeah.
It's it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's that too, where people will say like horrible things online, but then when like I fly down there once or twice a year and I'm at an event or I'm at the hotel and you might run into somebody, like there's an event that the fan club weekend event where like there's fans of Dolphins from all over the world, and most of them are on social media, and never had an issue there. And I'm like, there's got to be one or two assholes in this group of like 600 people who've probably hated my guts. Now, there was one who I did recognize. And when he came up to me, he's very loud on social media, came up to me, sorry for swearing, like a fucking mouse, and shook my hand like he never said it. And I want, I want to be like, I know you. I know you like about days ago. You're an asshole. I'll play along like we're just going to be friends here, but I know you. But yes, for the most part, people are very nice in person. I remember my last trip for the Jets-Miami game this past year in December. I was at the Hard Rock Hotel. I was ready. I went downstairs. I was waiting for my friends. They were going to come down soon. And one guy, and I'm just sitting there waiting for them to come down. I'm just like off to the side. And some guy walks up, and he was so cool and nice. He goes, "Oh my God, I listen to you every morning on my way to Mike. I listen to you every morning on my way to work. This is the coolest thing ever." And his friend was a Jets fan. Had no fucking clue who I was. He goes, "You don't know who this is. This is Mike." And the guy's like, "Hi, Mike." And it was like, it was so cool because, I've had people when I'm down there do things similar, but this guy, the pure excitement and joy that in this man in that moment, I'm like, I feel like Santa Claus right now. I'm just making dreams come true just by saying hi. And he was the nicest guy. But yeah, there are people who are, look, they're just assholes. And there's no way around it. In this world, there's assholes. Okay, a few more things here as we wrap up. Some pet peeves. These are like quick hitters. 2 pet peeves. Number 1 pet peeve, which we've kind of already sort of spoken about, getting labeled like a hater. Or like you're a casual, which is code for you're an idiot just because you don't see things my way. Like, really, folks, enough with the labels like stan, hater, casual. When people start throwing around those terms, it tells me they aren't very bright, and that's the first thing they run to is just like name calling. So that's the other one. The other one, and you see this too on YouTube probably. I see it more with the website where there's articles and podcasts. People have to understand what the word clickbait actually means.
Oh my God.
This is my number 1 pet peeve on social media. Folks, if there is a news report from, say, ESPN, the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, Fox Sports, New York Times, whatever, there's a news item out. And if you don't want that news item to be true, or if you hope it doesn't happen, say there's a news item out that, and I'm just making this up for an example, Miami might trade Tyreek Hill to Pittsburgh or the Patriots. Let's say that's a news item verified by a reputable outlet. That's not clickbait. That's news. And if I do a podcast saying thoughts on Tyreek possibly being traded to Pittsburgh or New England, that's not clickbait. That's me commenting on news. Here's what clickbait is. Clickbait is if I post an article on our website saying nude pics of Meghan Markle have been found, you'll be shocked by what you see. And then you actually click it, and I have no nude pictures of Meghan Markle. I only have pictures of Meghan Markle at a church where she's wearing clothes from her neck to her ankles. That's clickbait, because I baited you into clicking and I didn't deliver on the headline. If you don't like the headline, if you don't agree with the headline, if you hope the headline isn't true and won't happen, that's a you problem. That doesn't make it clickbait, though. People and then people use clickbait on stuff where there's nothing to fucking click. And that one really blows my mind. That's clickbait. What did I tell you to click? It's just a tweet. Like, people have to understand what the word clickbait is and use it correctly. And those who don't, again, they usually get muted by me in about 3 seconds, because that really is a pet peeve of mine.
So I put a video out when that whole thing with Tyreek Hill, kind of like doing this with the Cowboys writer or whatever. So I put a video out about that, and I titled it Miami Dolphins Tyreek Hill trade rumors ... again. And in the thumbnail, it says Dolphins trade rumors begin, because I didn't just talk about Tyreek Hill. I talked about other trade rumors that are out there and how this is the time of the year all these trade rumors come out. This guy writes, they're not trading him. Stop with the clickbait titles. It's not clickbait. I literally in the video talk about how there's rumors that he started about being. I didn't say the Dolphins were going to do it. Like, it's not clickbait. If I were to clickbait, it would be me saying like crazy Dolphin news. You're not going to believe it. Then you click on it and I talk about crocheting for 45 minutes.
Exactly.
That's clickbait. Or at the very end, I say, oh, and that Dolphin news is that we're going to, Tyreek's wearing new cleats. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's clickbait. Not me talking about what's in the title. And a big pet peeve of mine is when people take what I say and try to mean it something else. And then I tell them, no, that's not what I meant. And then they say, yeah, it is. Now you're just gaslighting me. Oh my God. How are you going to tell me what I meant?
Yeah. I had that one a few weeks ago, which I told you about that one day where I put up a tweet. I forget what it was. And someone came back at me and he goes, that's not what you meant. I'm like, motherfucker, how are you telling me what I meant? No, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. It's like, people are just, yeah. So there's that one. Two things. When did it become sort of popular to to use as a badge of honor when you're blocked by someone? Because that whole thing blows my mind. Like, if you're blocked by someone takes a screenshot. Look, I was blocked. Like, that's pretty much just saying, look at me. I was so much of an asshole. This guy blocked me. That's how I see it. And it's like, people wear that as a badge of honor. Like, I don't get that. Can you explain it to me? Because I truly don't get that.
I've gotten, I got blocked recently that it was for something so egregious or something so ridiculous. Oh, I had an anxiety attack, and I know that a lot of people deal with anxiety. It was bad. I had like a really bad anxiety attack, so I was having a bad day. And I kind of just went on Twitter and I was like, I know people deal with what I'm dealing with. So I just want to let people know, hey, I'm going through this too. We'll all get through it. So I just said, bad day, anxiety attack. Yeah. I'm doing better now, breathing, yada, yada. And this is why, a big majority of people on social media are beautiful, fantastic people, because I got an outpouring of, DMs, Tom DM'd me and like everyone's DMing me, reaching out to me like, oh my God, if you need to talk, yada, yada. There was one guy who said, I don't give a shit about this stuff. Why do you have to talk about this stuff to get sympathy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just trying to help. Whatever. You're just doing this stuff for sympathy. Blocked me. I was like, You're blocking me? I should be blocking you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and again, I am all for the block button. God love the block button.
It's
I
not the
use
same anymore.
It's not the same because they can still see stuff. But to get blocked and then to share it, like I have done it once. This was many, many years ago, and it's a funny story. Chris Jericho, when like AEW first started, yeah, exactly. I just had to say Chris Jericho, like it's not serious. So Chris Jericho, when like AEW first started, he was heading around saying his segments on the show were the highest rated, and he actually trademarked the name Demo God. And since it's on Wednesday nights, he was the Demo God of Wednesday nights, whatever. Well, I'm also a big fan of the challenge, and I've tweeted back and forth with Johnny Bananas a few times, and it was like their final episode. He like won the season or something, and they beat AEW in the ratings. And so he put up a tweet, I'm the Demo God. And I go, well, technically Johnny Bananas drew a higher rating than you this past Wednesday. So he is the new Demo God. Fucking Jericho blocks me. And I'm like, okay, which again, I think it's fun. It's a fucking pro wrestler. Who gives a shit? I thought it was funny. That's the only time I've actually taken a screenshot being like I got blocked.
There's not even a reason to get blocked, to be honest with
well,
you.
exactly. He's probably too sensitive. Or he was in character playing it up. Either way, I don't care what Chris Jericho tweets, so I can care less. But like, if like, okay, that's like a funny story involving a celebrity who's probably in character. So I find that funny. But if like, I don't know, someone on Twitter, like a Dolphins fan, like if they blocked me, or if I was blocked, I'm not going to take a screenshot and be like, look, I was blocked by this guy. Like, who gives a shit? Like a lot of social media too. I think people have to like look inside and be like, what I'm about to put out there. Like, does anybody really give a shit? It's like, is it worth arguing about? Last thing here I want to talk about. I think it's the last thing at least. Fans interacting with players is dangerous. I think it never ends well. Like outside of me wishing a guy like a happy birthday, I never tag a player. Like if it's his birthday, I feel it's pretty harmless. Okay, happy birthday tag. I think the interaction that fans have with the actual athletes, fans don't know how to navigate that. Like I think, especially right after games, if the team lost, they will say very nasty, rude, hurtful things and tag the player. And I think that is not good. And I know this past week, I think Omar Kelly was putting up tweets and stuff saying he knows players who haven't come to Miami because they don't want to deal with the toxic fan base. I have no idea who he's talking about. He would have to speak to that. I don't know. But I do know in other sports, in other cities, like the Red Sox have a crazy fan base. The cities has a history of being like a little bit racist. I do know there have been major league players who have refused to sign with the Red Sox. They don't want to put up with it. I know Cliff Lee refused a trade to the Yankees. He blocked. He goes, I don't want to play in front of Yankees fans. I don't want to live in that city. So there have been times in other sports where players have said, I'm not going there because their fan base is too much. And so what Omar said again, I don't know who he was talking about. I totally believe it because I know it to be true. And look, we've seen fans of Dolphins. We have video evidence of Mina Kimes, which he's saying, like, that does not shock me in the least. And I think there's no upside anytime a fan interacts with a player on that level. You want to talk to him about a charity event. You want to talk to him how, you're such a huge fan. That's one thing that's different. I mean, we lost today because of you, and you're a bleepity bleep, and I'm going to tag you to make sure you see it. That to me is like crossing the line.
Yeah, and so, like Mark Andrews probably got it bad.
Yeah.
Kincaid probably got it bad. It's like the people act like they did it on purpose. Like, God, I want to lose this game.
I know.
I'm pretty sure Raheem Mostert probably got it for the Cardinals game and for the Colts game where he had the two fumbles. Yeah. Like, these guys are trying to win football games. Things happen. Like,
they have family members too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not them on social media, it's the family. And that's the rough part. Because here's a story, once again, young, immature a little bit. Many years ago, I remember Tony Lippett?
Yeah.
Cornerback. He used to play wide receiver, then he went pro and turned into a corner. So it was a preseason game versus Atlanta. And Lippett's out there. It was like year 2 for him. Wasn't even very good. He had a rough rookie season. and it was like Julio Jones and Roddy White like absolutely abused this poor kid in a preseason. It might just a preseason game. They abused him, and it was bad. And I went on our post-game show with Tom, and I said, thank God Tony Lippett got a 4-year degree from Michigan State. He's going to need it soon. Okay, it's a funny line. I didn't mean nothing by it, but I had a member of Tony Lippett's family reach out to me and express that wasn't that funny. And I go, you know what? You're right. I probably shouldn't have said it that way. And I've never done really something like, I'm sure I have at some point, but I am more thoughtful of how I say things now because of that. And I think, I know it was that one experience that caused me to reevaluate my words and how I say things, but I don't think fans, if you don't have a podcast, if you're not writing articles, you're not going to have that type of interaction for the most part to have that self-introspection. And plus, some people just don't want to have the self-introspection. They're just fine being a prick. And I think, again, I just caution fans, be very careful when you tag a player and you want to be critical of them. There's no reason for that, honestly.
Yeah, I being in the situation I'm in, because again, I don't really think of myself as anyone up there. And every time I work with Omar, he always like tries to remind me that there's a lot of guys in the Dolphin organization that love watching your show. And I'm like, wait, what? Like every time I talk to him,
a lot of people watch, but they'll never admit it. A lot of people watch, but they won't admit it. A lot of people listen to stuff, they won't admit it.
And I remember at one point last season, somebody was going after Teron Armstead. I'm not going to say who. They were going after Teron Armstead, and I told Teron, I noticed there was a back and forth between, I think it was last year or the year before. Someone was going after Teron, like, oh, you should have blocked this way because blah, 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 blah. You're not in the NFL. Like, shut up. That's the other thing. Like, don't give a football player advice. And Teron was like going back and forth, and I chimed in, and I was like, Teron, just ignore this person. They don't know what they're talking about. You're doing your thing, blah, 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 da, da, da. And he followed me back. He's still following me to this day. I was like, all right.
Can I tell you a funny Armstead one? Well, here's two funny player interaction stories. Number one, Armstead was just a few weeks ago. Penn State was in one of their playoff games, and Warren Sharp, this wasn't even me, Warren Sharp put out a tweet of this Penn State offensive lineman who moved with the pocket and literally turned and pushed the defender right into the quarterback. Quarterback gets hit, whole thing. That was Warren Sharp who put it out. Me, as a joke, quote tweeted it and goes, and I said, this is going to be Chris Grier's first round pick soon.
I remember this.
Okay. So Armstead then responds and goes, actually, he's right, blah, blah. And my thing is I can push back and I can try to explain, one, it's a joke. Two, I didn't even put up the video Warren Sharp did. I'm just making a joke. But that's going to go, that ain't going to work. Or I go into the back and forth because honestly, Warren Sharp was right. I'm sorry, Armstead, you were a little wrong. He did push to go. I understand he didn't think the quarterback was going to be where he was. Doesn't mean you just blindly turn around and push the guy into somebody. And I could have that argument, but that's not going to end well. So what did I do? I said nothing. I said, because there's no end game here that's going to – everyone's going to side with Armstead, and no one's going to be even talk to Warren Sharp about this. And clearly what I said was a joke. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I'm not going to say the player's name. There was, let's say, a big-time player on the Dolphins 2 years ago when Michigan was in all that trouble with the guy in the sideline with the fake mustache and glasses, the whole thing, Connor Stallion, that whole story. And there was a Saturday where that story exploded. It blew up. The video came out, whatever. And I had this player on a Saturday reach out to me and say, you know if this is true? And I go, it's 100% true. And he goes, seems like a bunch of lies. I go, well, here's the clip from ESPN College Game Day. I sent him, here's this clip. Here's the link to the Times article. And he was like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah. So, and I was talking to him, but this was in a private message, but he knew where to go to get, you know what I mean? They all know where to go if they want something. And I've had other stories like that, which I won't share, but it's everyone's watching, everyone's listening. Yeah, that aspect of it does kind of blow your mind at some aspect because, like I say, you're in New Jersey, I'm up here in Syracuse. We're doing this. Right. Yeah. So it's always kind of funny. But yeah, so that's all. And again, if you are happy on social media with your experience, we're not here to change your mind. No. We're not here to push an agenda. We're not looking to change the world. We don't think anything we said is going to change the world. We're just having an open conversation about how, again, when I first signed up on social media, it wasn't this. And it's sort of devolved and it gets worse year after year, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter. It's like the level of discourse gets worse and worse. And we've seen people in the media with clips. It's like, I hope this at some point gets better, because I would like to use social media more in its truest sense, but there are things, so many aspects of it that just turn me off. I'm like, I'm on there because I got to cite this podcast, but I'll talk about Cobra Kai. I'll talk about other things. But talking about the Dolphins has become less enjoyable on there. And if I got something to say, I'd rather just say it on a show like this, where yes, less people will see it, but it's also more of a controlled environment in that you cannot agree with me, but we're not going to get to the crazy levels of the extremes. And every fan base has an extreme, and you can't judge them by an extreme. But sometimes the extremes are very loud and really does ruin it for everybody, I'd say.
Yeah, and like I said before, a loud minority, and that loud minority is just loud, because there's a big portion of this fan base that just sits back and watches and listens, and we get that a lot on our podcasts, on our YouTube channels, where people will comment and they're like, hey, this is my first time commenting. It's kind of like that long time first time on the radio.
Long time first time.
But sometimes they just want to sit back and listen and just hear what you have to say. And I've seen people have sent me videos, and it's the best thing ever. I think it was New Year's or something. It was some type of video, and his friend was drinking, and he had me on the TV, which again blows my mind that people watch me on their TV. They're big 50,
I know.
Like, I'm ugly. Why you put me up on your 55-inch TV? I don't know.
4K.
Right? Exactly. You can see all the pores. And he had a beer in his hand, and he was just having a conversation with me. Yeah, what are you talking about, Doug? Oh, come on, man. No, we can't do that. And I'm just like, I just find that hilarious that people will probably do that. Like, they'll be driving, listening to us, and they'll be like, nah, man, they can't do that, man. They can't do that.
I often say, too, I've seen people like in South Florida and stuff when I'm down there. They remember things I've said that I've totally forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because I do so many shows like you do so many shows. Sometimes it's just a comment where it's like, it's a comment in the moment, not something like a strong belief, which I will just, harp on. It's like, and it's in that, whatever. Like 6 months later, I'm down at Bo Campers, and there's a fan. That show you did like a while ago where you said, boy, were you, I said that. Yeah, I said that. Yeah. It's like, I don't, people remember things, and it's like, God bless them. And it's great. That's the fun aspect of it. And there's a lot of positive aspects of it, but yes, I just wish fans in general, this is not about just fans of the Dolphins. You could be a Yankees fan in the Yankees Twitter world, or Mets fan in Mets Twitter world. I'm sure it's the same, the positives and negatives and all that stuff. I think fans really need to sort of reevaluate sometimes how they interact with people and stuff like that. And that was just sort of what I want to talk about today, because this is going to become, I think, a larger topic, because as sports continues to grow, as social media continues to grow, as less guardrails around social media now start to fall, I think we're going to see athletes and fans arguing like cats and dogs soon. I think it's going to get, like, if you thought it's been bad already, I think it's going to get way worse, like, soon. That's just my thought. Hope I'm wrong, actually.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Because it's funny. Somebody actually said to me, I missed the positive, Doug. And I said, I'm positive. Like, I was happy about the Prince signing. I was happy about the Slowick signing. If they do something good, I'm going to say something good about it, but it's been
25 years in a playoff. I mean, there's only so much good I can sell. It's like, I can't peddle hope. And I actually feel like if I just, which a topic for another time, positivity, engagement farming, I also is a pet peeve I can't stand.
Yeah. It's
like, don't be disingenuous. Like, right after the team loses, if you put up a thing like this tweet, if you're still a Dolphins fan, asshole, we're all Dolphins fans. I don't have to like a tweet just because they lost. It's like that positivity, engagement farming drives me nuts. And it's like, I'm going to give a football opinion. And if someone views it positive, like I could say one thing and someone would say that's a positive opinion. Someone might say it's a negative opinion. I just call it's my honest opinion. I don't have a crystal ball saying it's going to be right or wrong. I'm pulling on my life experience covering this team in some capacity, which goes back many years as I get older and older. It's like take it or leave it. You might agree, you might not agree, but it's like that aspect. Yeah, it's like people just, I don't know. It's a whole thing. It's crazy. This world is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the positivity engagement farming, folks, come on. Everyone sees through it. Everyone sees through it. Just know that. Okay, Doug, throw out some plugs. Where can people hear you, find you, see you?
YouTube.com/DouglyDoWrong. You can find me on Twitter. Please don't yell at me.
Yeah, please don't yell. Doug's nice. And also, we're also on 560 WQAM. I don't know if you checked out those comments from our show this week.
I try not to.
Okay. This is total. And we've sort of joked about this before, but now it's a total complete. I am the biggest baby face with that fan group, and you have turned into the biggest heel. People they're saying mean, nasty things about you on that one YouTube channel. Doug, why do you keep saying this? Doug doesn't get it. And it's like, Mike, you're a genius. And I have no idea how this happened because when we first started on that, people hated my guts on 560. But over the year or 2 or 3 that we've done this, I have won them over, and you have lost the fans. Doug is not a man of the people of 560, but he's a man of the people on his own channel, and that's all that matters. Peace and love. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with regular shows talking about the Dolphins and who they cut to get under the cap and any rumors of who they might be drafting to 13 and all the regular stuff like that next week. Take care, and we'll talk to you again after a while.